In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you and your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you our political system is broken. The two-party system is dead. They have become one and the same.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
This is always the killer, the one that just destroys that never Trump argument. Hillary Clinton will fill the Supreme Court with liberals. She'll also appoint federal judges with a liberal bent to them.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Arrogant, sanctimonious, self-righteous, sabotaging Trump.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25%, they can't afford. I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
What realized is that the Bill Kristols of the world, the Never Trump people, they were just never serious. They never had any kind of ground game. They never had an actual candidate they could pick.
And in a surprising and disturbing move today, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate just agreed that rifles are weapons of mass destruction, and people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase guns. So in other words, the party of freedom is liberty for me, but not for thee. Go figure.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree.
All right, so 3, 2, 1. All right, folks, good morning. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and we are coming to you from KLNRradio.com. And at this point, we do have a guest with us this morning, so we're going to go ahead and get things started with him as quickly as we can. You've known him. He's been on with me for a while. He used to do a show with us back when I ran K98 Talk, and he's been on America Off the Rails when we did the late night editions quite a few times. You may know him on Twitter as Defend Wall Street. His name is Bill, but again, if you follow him on Twitter, he does tend to change his stuff in front of the @ quite a bit, so I get confused. Like, he sent me a message today, and I thought it was somebody, like, from an advertiser going, because he's like, are you still doing the evening stuff, or have you gone to mornings? I'm like, we've gone to mornings. He's like, but it was, like, a completely different name, so it threw me off for, like, which is why I didn't answer you, by the way, for, like, 30 minutes, because I was looking at that going, who the heck is that? But anyway, so we have him with us today, and he's with me now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am ready for Cipro. I'm with pneumonia.
Oh, dude.
Oh, I'm with Parkinson's disease.
Dude, I'm telling you, I really do think it's probably got a lot more to do with Parkinson's than it does pneumonia. I've never seen anybody with pneumonia that has to be dragged into a van before.
Excuse me, I think I might be coming down with some pneumonia here.
I was going to say, maybe you weren't kidding about being with pneumonia.
Yeah, sorry. I actually have bronchitis. Yeah, when I saw that video at first, I of course we're talking about, I don't even know if I should explain it, but I'm sure probably everybody knows, but, Hillary was at the 9/11 thing and Memorial on Sunday, and she left I think 40 minutes early or something. She left a bit earlier than everybody else, and I was like, oh, what a piece of crap. And and then people were like, no, there's video, you gotta watch it. I'm like, oh, why? They're like, oh, just watch it. I'm like, okay. So I found it on Twitter, and there's just this video of her standing on the corner of the street by One World Trade Center, and she's just sort of being held up by a bunch of people, and she looks, sort of intoxicated at first glance, and she sort of lurches forward as the van comes by, and it's pretty obvious that she kind of fell forward and basically hit the floor. And then they kind of just picked her up and just shoved her into the van. And they were like, yeah, let's go. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, in terms of presidential stuff, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, Ronald Reagan got friggin' shot, and he was still standing, So, I mean, it's just kind of odd, because to me, it doesn't look like heat exhaustion. It doesn't look like, like I said at first, if I were to look at that video without any preconditions or anything, I would say it looked like she was intoxicated, because that's what it looked like. And what kind of freaked me out is her the way that she's moving her head and her neck, and she's sort of it almost looked like she had lost her equilibrium and she had vertigo or something, because she's kind of you'd have to see it from the front. You'd have to maybe see her eyes or something, but just from watching her neck movements, it's like, whoa, the world is spinning. Everybody's been that drunk before, right? When you're just kind of standing there and you're waiting for Uber and you're outside the bar and you're like, whoa, my fucking shoes are moving. I don't know. I don't know.
It's been a while, but yes, I have been that drunk before. It's interesting, because if you watch the video that you're referring to that actually makes it look like the Secret Service detail is actually hauling her back into the van, it reminds me of...
oh, no, it doesn't make it look like that's actually what they did.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But instead of, it looking like they're just supporting her to get her in the van, they're actually picking her up, carrying her, and hauling her into the van. I see a Saturday Night Live skit coming soon. Weekend at Bernie's 2, Weekend with Hillary. Because that's exactly what that reminded me of, is they're just carrying her on a half-dead body.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Just from an optics standpoint, it doesn't look good. Now they say the thing about this whole story, right, is that there's never, in terms of Clinton and dealing with her, there's never a moment where they think, well, let's just tell people the truth, right? Like they always have to control the image, the information, everything. They have to control everything. And to some degree, they kind of create their own conspiracy theories in a way, because like they release information and then an hour later they release more information that contradicts what they said before, and then 5 hours later they release still more information and that contradicts the other two things that they just said. And that's sort of what we had here. Like in the space of 24 hours, we had like 4 different reasons for her collapsing and 3 alternate timelines. Like, at first they said that she was just exhausted and dehydrated. Then they said she had pneumonia. Then they said the pneumonia was diagnosed by the doctor earlier in the week. Then the doctor released a statement saying that she was diagnosed on Friday. And it's like, well, was it earlier in the week or was it Friday? Because Friday isn't earlier in the week. Friday's the start of the weekend. You know, no matter who you ask, Friday does not constitute earlier in the week. So it's just, you know, they're trying to manipulate everything 24/7, and you know they end up creating their own conspiracy theories. I heard one online saying that Clinton actually was so sick that she couldn't make any public appearances, so she stayed in Chelsea Clinton's apartment until the press left, and the woman that actually walked out of the apartment to greet the press for like 2 minutes was actually a body double.
You know, the interesting thing about that, and I'm not trying to feed it into any of the tinfoil hat theories or anything else, but if you look at close-up pictures between the person that was standing at in front of the apartment and some earlier pictures of Hillary, they don't look exactly the same. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything, but I'm just, if you look at the side-by-side pictures, they don't look it's close. It's kind of like the Saddam Hussein doubles, but I'm still smelling a rat here. I'm just saying. I mean, I could be wrong.
The thing is that in order for that to be true, then they would have had to have known that, like, this was going to happen. They would have had to have had 2 pairs of clothes. They would have had this person in Chelsea's apartment beforehand. I mean, it's just like...
Well, I mean, I understand that it's completely improbable, but I mean, let's be honest though for a second. If they know how bad her health is, and you and I both know there's more than they're telling us, who knows if they haven't taken all these elaborate steps to try to protect it? Because let's face it, this woman is not only willing to kill for what she wants, she's willing to die for it. So, I mean, and this is what she wants. This is the culmination of her life's work. And again, it could be completely off the mark, but I keep seeing side-by-side pictures of them, and one is like really, really wrinkly and looks a little bit older, and the other one looks slightly younger. Now, again, these are digital pictures. As a private investigator, I will tell you one of the reasons why I've always hated the digital world. It can be altered really, really easily. It's one of the reasons why I got mad when they started taking digital recordings in court, because they're easily faked. So are digital photos. So, I mean, it could have been run through a softener. Who knows? But still, I'm just looking at it going, I'm not quite so sure. I wish I could see the actual video.
The only thing I would say to that is that I suspect the reason for the difference is because when she was at the 9/11 memorial, I suspect that because of assuming she was sweating and she was hot, let's pretend she was, even though it was like 68 degrees. You know, it's really likely that maybe her makeup had run and that she was just really hot. And when they got her into the apartment, they cleaned her up and they put some makeup on, and, you know, they had somebody go over her again. essentially airbrushing her, really. You know.
Have you seen some of those wrinkles? They had to use a trowel to airbrush.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, they do some pretty amazing stuff with makeup these days. So,
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. It's just as probable. I'm just looking at it going, I'm not so sure, but who knows?
Yeah. Again, just another example of, the Clintons trying to control everything and just, absolutely ridiculous. They're their own worst enemy at this point now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the thing about it is, in a lot of ways, she's never really had to compete with Trump because he just always manages to shoot himself in the foot. I'm not sure if it's intentional. I've been wondering now for a while if it was. That's just like with all of the health concerns and everything else that have been going on with Hillary, instead of him focusing on his opponent, he spent most of the weekend complaining that he knew he was going to be treated unfairly in the debates. As far as he was concerned, there shouldn't be a moderator at all. I can't keep thinking at this point that these two are trying to one-up each other to figure out just how bad of a campaign they can run and still manage to get into the White House. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah. And to his credit, though, Trump's response was pretty great, actually. He did a really, really good job, actually, today and yesterday about this whole thing. Yesterday he was asked about it because he was at the 9/11 memorial as well. And he was asked about it, and he said, "What? No, I didn't hear that she passed out. I was inside." What? No, I was where I was supposed to be. So no, I wasn't watching. And then today he issued a written statement saying that I don't know what's going on with her health-wise, but I hope she gets better soon.
I mean, and the interesting thing is, you see all these things about her health. You see all these things lately where everybody's calling into question her stamina, etc., which I never really have quite understood, to be honest. But her vice presidential running mate made an interesting statement where he said he was surprised at the amount of stamina that Hillary Clinton had when they were on the debate trail and that he could barely keep up with her. So this dude's either on Ambien or he's on crack. I'm not sure which one.
Well, considering he wasn't actually running, wasn't on the debate stage, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He wasn't actually there, so I don't know what he's talking about. But yeah, I mean, he's basically just another Joe Biden, Tim Kaine. He's a moron. He's a guy that would have to, earn a GED to be considered a moron. So, I wouldn't put too much stock in what he says. But, the whole thing with her health is really that, like, 69 years old, she's going to be 70. She's not young. Now, Trump, of course, is the same age. I think he's 6 months older than her. He's 70. He doesn't act like an old man. Like, he doesn't have all those old man problems, at least it doesn't look like that, He's fairly spry for a guy his age, I would say. He doesn't seem to move like a guy who's riddled with arthritis or joint problems or anything, He just kind of walks pretty naturally. He seems to have a pretty good stride. He doesn't seem to have any health issues. I mean, I believe his doctor when he says there's nothing physically wrong with him. Psychologically, I'm not sure, but physically, I don't think there's anything wrong with Trump at all. I think he actually is in pretty good health. I don't know why he doesn't want to release the medical records because, for God's sake, I mean, there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with him.
I think for him it has everything to do with control. Because
maybe.
Well, I mean, let's face it. He's a control freak, and there could be a couple of little things in those medical records that he doesn't want to wind up making public knowledge. I mean, it makes as much sense for him to withhold the medical records during this as it did for him to withhold his tax returns from a lawsuit that he filed and eventually lost because he wouldn't release the tax returns.
Oh, you're talking about the one in New Jersey?
Well, yeah, the one where basically he was interviewed for a book. It was a conglomeration of stories, if memory serves, but I can't think of the name of it. And in the book, the author of the book actually claimed that Trump was a millionaire, not a billionaire. Trump was so incensed by it that he decided he was going to pursue a civil case for defamation of character. So he goes
in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah, so he goes all the way through the process of filing the paperwork, getting everybody into court, starts saying that this guy's being dishonest about how much Trump is worth. So the judge looks at Trump and says, hey, there's a pretty easy way to fix this. Why don't you release your tax returns? Trump refuses. Judge says, either give me your tax returns or I'm dismissing your lawsuit. Trump refuses. Lawsuit dismissed. Why would you go through all... Why would you do all of that just to be like, I'm not giving you my tax returns? What are you not wanting us to know?
Actually, he did give them to them.
Not according to all the articles that I've seen.
Yeah, he did. He did give them up eventually, because he was required legally to, because it was part of a discovery process. And they did a bunch of legal crap to try to keep him from having to, and ultimately they kept. Now, it wasn't his full tax returns; it was like the returns for 1 year or something. And I think and if I remember right, it was 1988 was the year that they got a hold of. And what happened was he submitted the attorney submitted the returns to the court, and the author's attorney, the judge, and Trump's attorney all had the return in like the judge's chambers or something, and they all read it together. And then they were basically bound to never tell anybody what was in them. And if I remember correctly, the author still swears by that today. He says that, although he has dropped some hints that, there are things in there that, he may not want you to see, but he can't be very specific because he'd violate his agreement. But he did eventually release something from the year 1988, I believe. But the case was eventually just dropped because he was really reticent to even participate in the process. Just thought that, I think he thought that, I think it was a writer for Spy Magazine, if I remember right. I think he thought that if he filed the lawsuit against someone, that they wouldn't actually go through with the process. They would just pay him what he wanted, and that would be it. But the author was like, yeah, okay, let's do this thing. Because he knew that Trump would have to prove it then. Ultimately, he didn't, I suppose. See, I don't think Trump is worth nearly what he says he is.
No, I mean, it's kind of obvious that he's not. I was actually looking for the article that because I have an article referenced specifically that kept saying repeatedly that the judge actually, and who knows, there may be more than one of these lawsuits floating around, so we may be talking about different ones. Because there was one that I remember specifically reading about where the judge had ordered that he released his tax returns and he refused, so the judge actually dismissed it. And I remember reading about it because it floored me, because he was the one that brought the lawsuit, and he lost his own case because he refused to release his tax returns. So I don't know if there's more than one of them, or maybe if the articles that I've been reading have the story slightly different. But either way, at this point, the simple fact of the matter is that neither candidate is being honest. One of them has severe health issues. The other one is obviously hiding something about his financials because he doesn't want to release anything. And let's not forget that Trump himself was the one that said, if I decide to announce within 2 weeks of my announcement, I will release my tax returns. That was almost 15 months ago. Saying.
Well, the reason that if you look at every candidate is required to release is required to submit to the FEC a some kind of like general income information. I forget what the name of the form is exactly, but it's sort of a tally of where your income comes from. And if you look at what he filed with the FEC, he has businesses on there, like he owns 3 charter airplane companies. He owns 3 charter airline companies, and they're just his companies for his private jets. And they're just to chauffeur him around. That's their only function. He doesn't sell services on them or anything. He doesn't even really make them available to other people. They're just for him to fly around and get, go places. He has 3 of these companies. They make 0 income a year, but he values them all at like $55 million or more. So I ask you, is he really rich, or does he just value his own name on something more than what you and I would? Because that's what I think it is. I think he's income poor. He's asset rich, income poor, which means that basically he has a lot of crap with his name on it, but no actual hard income coming in.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you bring up the fact that it seems like his main concern is the name and the branding, because I was actually he's a living brand. Well, yeah, and while I was looking for the one story that I keep trying to find again, I found another one that was almost as interesting. It's actually like 5 examples of the weirdest lawsuits Donald Trump has ever actually filed, and this one ties right back into what you were just talking about. In the 1980s, when Trump was in the relatively early days of his professional ascent, he sued another businessman who dared to have the same last name as him. Julius and Edmund Trump were trying to buy a chain of drugstores, and their business was called the Trump Group. When Donald Trump found out via a letter delivered to him that was intended for the other Trumps, according to Crane's New York business, he went on the offensive. So, basically, he decided to sue somebody for having the same last name as him. So, I think it's kind of a given that this man is all about name recognition. The funniest thing about that is it's not even really his last name.
Okay, well, I just sent you the story that I was just referencing.
Okay.
It's from Bloomberg. And the title of the story is "I Saw Donald Trump's Tax Returns and You Should," by Timothy O'Brien.
Yeah, I don't think that was the same one that I was referring to, so I'm almost positive there's probably more than one of these situations floating around. Because
I'm not sure if it is what you were talking about, but this is what I was quoting from. It's a story on Bloomberg.com, and it's called "I've Seen Trump's Taxes and You Should Too." Timothy O'Brien talks about generally, but not specifically, a lot of information about Trump's tax returns that he has seen. And that coupled with Trump's income disclosure to the FEC I basically, like I said, I basically come to the conclusion that he's asset rich, income poor. He has tons and tons of properties, tons and tons of businesses with his name on it, but there's no actual income being generated. If you comb through his income report to the FEC, I mean, he owns a golf course in Scotland. It makes him no money, but he values it at over $150 million. Why? Why is it so much? What's the big deal? You know, he has all of these businesses, all of these properties, all of this crap that he owns, and he just, you know, he values it because he overestimates what his signature on something is worth. And that's basically what it comes down to, is if you look at what he says he's worth versus what he says his properties are worth and stuff, you sort of get an idea of where he comes up with this estimate. I don't think he's really I think he's a millionaire like Tim O'Brien says, like a lot of people say. I don't think he's a billionaire. In fact, I would be willing to bet on it.
Don't let him hear you say that.
Yeah, well, actually, I would be willing to bet him on it.
All right, folks. Well, believe it or not, we're already well past the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue the discussion between the two worst possible presidential picks ever and 2016, or as I lovingly call it, the dumpster fire that will never quit raging. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, folks, we are back. This is America Off the Rails, the new extended morning edition, and I'm still here with Defend Wall Street from, as you know, I'm on Twitter, or Bill. Never really asked you if you like giving out your last name or not, which is typically why I avoid it. I guess it really doesn't matter because most of the time it's on Twitter anyway. But
I have it on Twitter, so I don't really mind.
Well, I was just double checking before, because every once in a while I'll thinking or not thinking give somebody's last name out there like, I really wish you hadn't done that, and I'm like, well, you probably should have told me.
It's okay. Please, no stalkers though.
Or as you used to always say with Leslie, please don't find me.
No stalkers, please. I have an AR-15 though, if you are. But yeah, I don't know. The thing about Trump is that there's a really great story that I read on I think I read it on the Federalist, or one of the few times I read the Federalist. And it was like how Donald Trump took advantage of charity laws to basically make money for himself with other people's money. And like, for example, his charity bought a painting of him for like $265,000. And the painting is apparently in his living room. So I ask you, what does the Trump Foundation actually do? Because nobody can explain it. What does it give money to? Because it looks like it takes money from stupid people and gives it to Donald Trump.
Well, apparently it also gives
the rich and gives to Trump.
No, actually, it robs from the poor and gives to the rich. But apparently, it also gives money to people in political offices, like attorney generals in Florida.
Oh right, I forgot about that. Yeah, that Pam Bondi thing is something. This is just so. How did we get stuck with this guy? I don't understand. There must be more angry morons in the world than I thought. It's just because it's just ridiculous. And, guys like Sean Hannity are just going to promote this moron day in and day out, because even if he loses, they're going to do okay, because, a poorly kept secret of, like, talk radio and stuff, punditry TV and outrage TV or whatever, is that, these guys all get better ratings when a Democrat is president. Because
I mean,
when Republicans are presidents, all they do is kiss their ass. And that's basically what Sean Hannity did when George Bush was president. He was basically George Bush's, friggin' press secretary for 8 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that because up until recently I was on a terrestrial station out of Philly. And when he was pretty sure that this was going to be a slam dunk, he came to me right before CPAC and said, look, man, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this. Because basically what it was is he bought the time on the terrestrial station, and then those of us that wanted to air with him paid him back for the time that he'd already purchased. And he said, to be honest, if we get the White House, he says, I'm pretty sure I'm done because I'm not going to have anything to talk about anymore. And now we're here.
It's true, though. I mean, it's really true. It's something that a lot of people don't know. It's something a lot of people don't want to know. That pundits on TV don't care. Well, they do care to some extent. They will survive if a Republican is in the White House, but they will do really well if a Democrat is. And if you look at, there are websites, I think it's called Media Tracker or something, where you can go and you can actually graph out using Nielsen ratings and stuff like that, what a TV program's viewership numbers were week by week, month by month, year by year, whatever. And I did it with Sean Hannity a long time ago. And if you actually look at it, when Bush was president, his ratings were kind of flat and boring. And then when Obama became president, it just started going up, 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 up. Because outrage sells and people want to be mad. And like I said, he's going to do okay if Trump is president. He's going to do really okay if he loses. So it's, he has no skin in the game. Just like Trump, which is why he's not really trying to win. It's not because he's paid off or anything. It's because he just doesn't give a damn. I mean, it's really just as simple as that. He doesn't care because, he's not out of a job, and he's certainly not out of money, even though he's a millionaire. He's certainly not out of money. So, he's not going to lose anything. Certainly not in his sleep over this.
Well, no, I mean, of course not. And I guess one of the things that I've often wondered is, because you'd mentioned his charitable organization a moment ago, I'm honestly wondering if that's where he...
You can call it that.
Well, whatever you want to call it. But I'm honestly wondering if that's not where he gets some of his net worth information, and that's one of the reasons why he's not wanting to let anybody see behind the curtain, because it's the only thing that makes sense, because he's actually gone out of his way to basically take out loans against himself for this campaign and have them be repaid back to himself later. So he's talking about how he's been self-funding. He's literally been making money off of this campaign, and nobody's talking about that. That is insane to me, that a candidate can be running for office and find a way to work the system to where he's actually making personal money back off of the campaign. I didn't even think that was legal, for one, and it just astounds me that this is where we are. It's like the day that Ted Cruz basically said, look, I'm done, I'm suspending my campaign. Within 5 minutes of him making that announcement, I saw a Trump energy drink commercial on the TV and said, if you want to help support the RNC and you want to make sure Trump's the next president, try this energy drink. It's a free gift for a $10 donation. And I'm like, what the hell? So we're turning.
Man, they should have get in on that Crystal Pepsi stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah. I don't know. The thing about Trump is that I can tolerate the people who will just vote for him because he's not Hillary Clinton to some degree. The only thing that I ask of people when they tell me how much, that they're going to vote for him or whatever, just don't lie to me and don't lie to yourself. I mean, I've literally had people tell me, look, Donald Trump wrote in a book 10 years ago that he was in favor of the 94 assault weapon ban and that he thought it didn't go far enough. 8 years ago, 6 years ago, he said that guns creep him out and people who own guns creep him out. They make him feel weird. So, I mean, if that's the thing that he believes, why, Mitt Romney put it the best. Donald Trump's ideas should never be married to real power. Like, he should never have the actual power to do any of the stuff that rolls around in his brain, because he would be unconscionably evil. And the idea, and that's what really upsets me about the NRA, right? And a lot of people are like, well, they had to support somebody. No, they didn't. They didn't support George W. Bush. They didn't support Romney. They didn't endorse McCain. The NRA very, very rarely endorses a presidential candidate. So this nonsense that, like, they had to pick Trump because he was the alternative is just, first off, it's bizarre and it's a lie, because they have not endorsed a presidential candidate since Reagan. Reagan was the last time they endorsed a person running for president. The NRA has never endorsed somebody since Reagan, ever. And the idea that they had to pick Trump is just absolutely insane. They were bought. They were bought. Somebody told them, look, we give you a bunch of money if you just come out and say something nice about Trump, because it'll boost him in the polls and blah, blah, blah. And that's precisely what they did. Trump had a crappy couple of weeks, crappy couple of months, if you ask me. And, he wasn't looking so great. He got beat up in Iowa pretty bad. The polls weren't looking so good heading into, I don't know, maybe it was New Hampshire or something. And he wasn't looking so great. And then the NRA came out and endorsed him. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, now he's our buddy. And it's just, this whole thing is just absolutely bizarre. Because if you really truly admit to yourself that Donald Trump wanted to limit the type of weapons that you could own in 2000, why the hell on earth would you in 2016 give him the ability to make that idea a reality? And what shocks me is the amount of people who go along to get along. And look, do you know what self-attribution is on Wikipedia? You know what that phrase is in, like, writing and English writing, like what self-attribution means?
Well, let's assume that some of the listeners don't. So what is it that you're referring to?
It means that basically I can't make a claim and then use myself as the source for that claim. Like, I can't say that I am, a genius. I can't say that I'm a nuclear physicist. You can't, because extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And you can't say something without proof. And for 99% of Donald Trump's gun, whatever, mantra, if you will, the source of the evidence is Donald Trump himself. I've had conversations with people who are NRA donors, big NRA donors, people who are, NRA instructors, who go, well, Trump is he's the only one that makes great pro-gun statements. And I go, yeah, but they're just statements. How do you know he's not lying? Well, he's the only one making those statements. I go, yeah, but it's self-conferred. If he says, oh, I like the Second Amendment, how do you know he's telling the truth? Because 6 years ago he said he hated it. Was he lying then or is he lying now?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I actually saw an article from Red State back in 2011 that Donald Trump had done the quote retweet kind of thing of, and it said, that it was Rosie O'Donnell was one of them and somebody else, and I can't remember the other name, but that they were both 9/11 truthers. And from the context of the way that he said it, it sounded like he wasn't in 2011. But if memory serves, he kind of is now. So did he not mean it earlier, or is he reticent to admit that at that point in time that he actually agreed with something with Rosie O'Donnell? Or has he become more of a it's Bush's fault guy to pander to the alt-right who have always blamed the government for 9/11? There's a pattern here, and it's the same thing that I've been trying to point out for a very long time. But the simple fact of the matter is you can find any number of instances where Donald Trump has contradicted himself over and over and over again, and you can play the audio for Trump supporters and say, look, this is what he said then, this is what he says now. Which one are we supposed to believe? And he's evolved. No, he hasn't evolved. If anything, he's devolved.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying, right? Like, if you talk to a lot of NRA people, they'll tell you, well, Trump makes a lot of great pro-gun statements. I go, well, but so what? What does that mean? Like, 6 years ago, he was talking about getting rid of guns. So where was the evolution? Like, where did that come from? Another thing that I hear a lot of people say is that Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. are avid hunters. They're not avid hunters. They do what rich people do. They go on safari trips, which means that they get a bunch of South African hunters, and they pretty much do all the work. And the rich white people take photos with the lion that got killed. It's just like that dentist in that time that killed Cecil the lion. No, I don't really care that he shot the lion. It doesn't matter to me. But, dude, don't pretend like you killed that damn thing. I mean, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really hunting. That's trophy hunting. It's like, it's 2 steps away from going to the safari land at Six Flags. I mean, just, you get out of the car instead. And, and Kunta shoots the lion for you. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely out of this world. Look, Trump's children are not competitive shooters. There's no records of them competing in gun competitions. They don't go to ISC events. I've never heard of anyone who's ever provided any evidence of it. When he was running in the primaries in Iowa, his 2 stupid kids went to a gun range, and apparently Eric Trump didn't know how to load an AR-15. He had to be shown how to do it. So, I mean, it just seems really odd to me. And that's the thing that gets me, like the cognitive dissonance. And it's not from the people who are true believers. Those people are just dorks. But what gets me is the people who know that he's a scumbag and a liar. And they still go, no, he's a Second Amendment guy. I go, no, dude, he's really not. Oh, yeah, but he said this and that. And I go, yeah, but 10 years ago he said something that contradicted this and that. Like, was he lying then or now? I don't know. See, that's the thing. With Hillary Clinton, at least you know that she's going to do this, this, and this. With Trump, who the hell can tell? One day he wakes up, maybe he hates guns. The other day he wants to go out and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. It sort of depends. Do you get happy Trump, sad Trump, mad Trump? Which one do you get? I don't know. And that's what bothers me is the people who know better, the people who should know better anyway, who still end up supporting this crazy lunatic. And they make every argument, and I mean, I'm just embarrassed for these people. Because these are people that know better, people who are Cruz and Rubio supporters, who are just bending over their brain stem as far as it'll go in order to somehow make him fit into some kind of a thing that they can vote for. But these are the same people that wouldn't vote for Romney because because Mormonism is basically Christian Scientology.
Yeah, basically. You know? All right, well, believe it or not, folks, that's already hour one in the books. When we come back, we'll continue more of the debacle between Hillary and Trump. This is America Off the Rails, the extended morning edition. We'll be back right after these commercial messages. Don't go away.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you our political system is broken. The two-party system is dead. They have become one and the same.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
This is always the killer, the one that just destroys that never Trump argument. Hillary Clinton will fill the Supreme Court with liberals. She'll also appoint federal judges with a liberal bent to them.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Arrogant, sanctimonious, self-righteous, sabotaging Trump. Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25% they can't afford. I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS. Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
What realized is that the Bill Kristols of the world, the never Trump people, they were just never serious. They never had any kind of ground game. They never had an actual candidate they could pick.
And in a surprising and disturbing move today, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate just agreed that rifles are weapons of mass destruction and people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase guns. So in other words, the party of freedom is liberty for me but not for thee. Go figure.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree.
Folks, we are back. We are live, already into hour 2, still with my guest Defend Wall Street, and we have been talking Hillary, Trump, the debacle, the lies, the craziness, the people that are the ones that are kind of just voting for him because they really don't feel like they have a choice, the ones that are voting for Hillary because they really don't feel like they have a choice. Then there are the acolytes of Trump and Hillary both. Now, what I have to admit is there has been a really weird situation kind of thing, or I'm not even sure what word could best describe it. But without mentioning names, I'm going to mention a conversation that I had on a Twitter DM a few nights ago, where basically someone who is more of a moderate conservative that I have been speaking with lately was actually making the argument that anyone who is opposed to Trump but refuses to vote for Hillary is still basically giving a half a vote to Trump. And I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that's not how this stuff works, because it's really not, folks. It's pretty simple. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump. A vote for Hillary is a vote for Hillary. And if a vote goes somewhere else, then I'm not voting for either one of them. And I like I said, I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do at this point. But I know that I was never Hillary before I was never Trump. And now I'm still never Trump, even though it's come down to between him and her. And I don't want either one of them to be in the White House, which is why we spend most of every show anymore talking back and forth about both of them and trying to point out exactly what terrible choices they are. But this is the election cycle that is 2016. We have Evan McMullin, who's doing everything he can to scramble around to get on as many ballots as possible. But I have some issues with some of the things that he said too. We have Gary Johnson, who actually seems like he spends most of the campaign trail munching on Colorado brownies. So I'm not quite sure he's going to be a good fit either. But I mean, at this point, this is what it is. We have plenty of choices that nobody ever talks about, because all we ever hear about are these two main choices. And when the two main choices are basically flip sides of the exact same coin, what are you supposed to do? Because they both suck. And apparently I've lost Bill.
Oh, I didn't. I thought you were gonna continue there.
No, not really.
I don't know. I mean, look, I don't. You know, I'm sort of in a position where I'm not even sure if I want to waste my time voting, because it just feels stupid. You know, it feels really stupid to vote. That's just my position. It feels really dumb to vote. Why even vote in this election?
Well, I mean,
the parties themselves don't even give a damn.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. I think you're right about the party leadership not giving damns on either side, but I think there are plenty of people that are still in the parties, much like myself, because I used to be a part of one of those parties and I'm not any longer, that actually did really...
I'm not voting for you.
Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't vote for me either. I mean, but that's that.
Might as well at this point.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if Oklahoma recognized write-ins, I'd probably just write in Mickey Mouse, but they don't. So
I don't think New Jersey does either.
I mean, so my biggest thing is I'm trying to focus more on down ballot, because there are elections that are still important. And I don't want to, because at this point, look, if you look at sites like, I believe it's 512, and there was another one that I heard thrown around today that ultimately the name of it escapes me. Hillary victory at this point is a foregone conclusion to a lot of folks that crunch the numbers. It's still early. You never know. Something could go completely sideways. It could become
She
weekend.
could go William Henry Harrison.
Pretty much. So, I mean, you never know. But the thing about it is there's still things that we need to focus on as a group, because we need to make sure that we do everything we can to, if nothing else, keep one of these people in check. And I have to admit, one of the arguments that has almost swayed me is the fact that Trump, when it comes right down to it, is in theory going to be a lot easier to impeach than Hillary, because Hillary's just kind of untouchable. The FBI doesn't even want to touch her. Neither does Bill Clinton, but I guess that's a story for another day. Sorry, it was there. I had to take it. Cheap shots first thing in the morning. What are you going to do? But I mean, it's just one of those things where I listen to the arguments of people and the rationales of why they're going to vote for Trump. Why I won't even start making those rationales is because I've seen this happen over time. I swear, Trump support in some ways has got to be kind of like a disease. I've seen people that went over to the inevitable side and said, look, I'm voting for him because I have to. And then the next thing you know, they're retweeting all the positive stuff. They're going to the point where they're just like completely pro-Trump. And then the next thing you know, they're tweeting in all caps, Sean Hannity, I'm looking at you. And it's just insane that there's like these stages of Trump denial, and then it turns over to Trump acceptance, and then it turns over to Trump just complete
bargaining.
Yeah, basically. And it's just one of these things. It's like there's this whole. It's like the 7 stages of grief or whatever it is, where you're just like, okay, so whatever, this is what we're stuck with, so this is what I'm gonna do. I mean, I actually saw Sean Hannity, I think it was Sunday, during everybody else doing like 9/11 stuff. He was like quote tweeting the same tweet over and over and over again and yelling different things, and it was always in capital letters with multiple.
He was drunk.
Well, I mean, this is Hannity we're talking about. I'm sure he's probably drunk most of the time, but I guess I really shouldn't say that. I don't know him personally, so I really don't have any.
Yeah, I don't confuse him with Bill O'Reilly, who is drunk all the damn time. He's a really big guy, by the way, Bill O'Reilly.
You know, I've never really seen him off camera, so
I've actually seen him in real life. He's huge.
I mean, I've seen, like, I saw Hannity in person. I yelled something.
Dude,
out
O'Reilly is like 7'4". He's huge.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's huge, dude. I'm 6'4", and he's bigger. He's at least a foot bigger than me.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the guys on TV are kind of big. I mean, I guess the rest of them would be kind of average height to you. I'm short,
he
so
just looms over you.
Well, dude, I'm short, so O'Reilly could probably step on me. I'm 5'9".
You know who's really tall too is James Comey. It doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't look like that on TV. But when he was doing the testimony before Congress on the Clinton investigation, they actually had to bring a chair for him from his office because apparently he's too large for the chairs that they had in Congress up on the Hill. So they had to actually bring one specially for him from his office. He's like 7'3". He's huge. I mean, he's a huge guy. It's like Bill Bradley height, man. He's so crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but it's deceptive because you see him on TV and there's no, you know what it is? There's nothing. There's no way to judge. There's nothing in the background. You know, so there's no scale. There's nothing to scale it to.
Yeah, and they kind of do that on purpose when it comes to, like, especially like politicians and people that do press conferences and stuff. They will find a way to make them as average as possible. If they're too short, they'll put them in platforms. They'll angle the cameras, kind of like they did with Marco Rubio. Or if they're too tall, they'll find ways to angle the cameras. They'll make sure there's nothing in the background that they can scale it against. And it's to make sure that everybody can relate to the person that is speaking. Because if somebody's...
Oh, they just grapple pieces of metal to your legs under your shoes so that people can think that you can walk.
No, that's Hillary, brother. That's Hillary soon. What's going to wind up happening is she's going to have a Secret Service guy on one side, another one on the other. They're going to put these things on her legs, and the Secret Service guys are going to have them on their legs, and then they're going to step. She's going to step. You know, that's just the way it's going to go.
Like one of those puppet things that they do on Broadway. That's a real thing, you know, by the way.
Oh, I know. That's where I came up with the idea as soon as you were talking about putting stuff on your legs. I was like, no, that'll be Hillary.
I can just sort of see that now. Johnson, move the left leg.
Not so loud, they'll hear you.
It's awful. No, seriously. They used to do that a lot with FDR. Image control is everything, especially back then. Because they were really afraid that people would find out that FDR was paralyzed. Like, you know, a lot of Americans didn't know that. And when he would appear in public, they had these metal contraptions around his legs that he would wear over his pants. He would wear under his pants, so that he could at least stand erect for a period of time, and nobody would be none the wiser. And they used to do that constantly. I mean, it's just TV makes everything, like that debate between Kennedy and Nixon, right? That's a famous example of it. If you listen to the debate on the radio, you thought Nixon won. If you watched it on TV, you definitely thought Nixon lost, because Nixon looked like hell. So, TV doesn't just add weight. It nowadays it can subtract and divide and do all kinds of other stuff. It can even play Netflix. Mine has Netflix and Hulu and Vudu. I don't even know what Vudu is.
I think it's a music service. I think it's music, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
mine has it too, but I've never actually turned it on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting old. I just play World of Warcraft now.
Then you're not getting that old, because eventually you'll be like, I remember when I used to play World of Warcraft, and now you kids are standing in this tube and running around, and it's all virtual reality. This is not video games.
Oh my god, I would love WoW to be on Oculus Rift. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
I know.
I can think of a couple of games that I'd like to have that way. But WoW would definitely be one of them. I have to admit, I haven't played in a while. I stopped playing around...
You gotta come back to WoW. Legion is a great time to come back to WoW.
I don't know.
Dude, it's so awesome. I'm playing this game till 4 in the morning now, every day.
Yeah, but see, that's the other problem. I work 40 hours a week, plus I do all of this, plus I'm trying
so do I.
Plus, I'm trying to get a job as a writer. So, I mean, if something's got to give, and if I start playing games, my family has addictive personality issues. My uncle was an alcoholic. So was my mom. My dad was at one point. He managed to kick it. My addiction is video games. If I sit down and start playing video games, I'll look up and it'll have been 12 hours, and I'll be like, dude, I haven't even eaten. So,
you know what? Something's got to give. It might as well be the food. No, seriously, I play WoW so much now. I mean, I haven't played World of Warcraft obsessively, I think, really since Burning Crusade came out. And I had just graduated high school when Burning Crusade came out. I'm not even sure I was legally able to drink at the time. I was drinking, but I don't think I was legally able to do it. And we probably must have played 10, 12 hours a day in that game. I mean, just unfriggin' real, just farming and, doing Tempest Keep and all that other stuff. And I don't know, just somewhere along the line after Lich King, I just fell off the game, and Cataclysm really bored me, and Pandaria was just a game based on a friggin' joke from Warcraft 3, so I didn't really understand that at all. And then Warlords came around, and that was fun. I thought, anyway. I know a lot of people, actually, I know 90% of people hated it. But this Legion thing, man, this thing is so legit. I mean, it's just legit to the max. I mean, it's really, really cool. The phasing technology they have in this game now is so impressive. I mean, it's like Guild Wars level impressive now. It's really, really good. And the Burning Legion is back, and they've taken over half the planet. This is just so cool.
Yeah, I played through Burning Crusades and then Wrath of the Lich King, and that was kind of where I fell off. I started playing a lot of more of the sci-fi based MMOs. My favorite for a while was Eve, but that one got kind of repetitive. But it was interesting though, because it wasn't like going to an amusement park. You actually could kind of carve out your own thing. Like I know people that would do mining stuff, and that's what they would do, and they could actually get it to the point where they would make enough money that they could pay for their game time in game by doing all these mining exercises, and they built these huge corporations that were making all of this money. And it really was just kind of like real life. You carved out your own path. You did what you wanted to do. You made money. What really sucks though is when it's not like a lot of the other games, because I lost so many ships when I was expanding.
Like in WoW now?
What's that?
I have 596,000 gold in the game now.
I hate you.
Oh, that's nothing. I mean, it's dude, it's crazy now. Like, there are people in my guild that have 2, 3, 4 million. It's nuts now. Like, cause epics drop. There are BOE epics now, and they drop just in heroic dungeons and stuff, and you can sell them on the auction house, and they're like 50, 60,000 a piece. But it's no big deal, because like they're daily. Like, I don't know. Anyway, talking too much about WoW. You know who would enjoy WoW is Donald Trump. I bet he would be able to teach us how to corner the auction house and show them Jewish stereotype goblins how to really make money.
Tiny Hands McGee couldn't even work the controls. Come on.
Oh my God. You know, what's so absurd about this whole campaign is the fact that, like, I was telling a friend of mine on Skype the other day, I said, you know, if we die and there's no afterlife, like if there's no reward for all the suffering that you go through on Earth, that will mean that we had to live with a Donald Trump presidency for absolutely nothing. This will have been for nothing.
That's a depressing thought. Thanks for sharing.
No, seriously. I mean, really think about that for a minute. Like, that means that we put up with all of this for nothing. Like, I believe that if you have the patience of a saint and you go through this election year, God himself should invite you to heaven. Like, God himself should be like, yeah, okay, you're better than the Pope. You get in. I mean, because this whole election season is just so absurd. Nobody likes the candidate they have. Everybody wishes they had someone else. You know, I know Democrats who are just mortified with Hillary. They hate her. She's, you know, she's nasty. She's old. She's an evil, nasty old woman. And Donald Trump is basically the exact same thing, except he's a man with woman hands. You know, so.
Well, if that statue they put up from him in New York was anatomically correct, he's almost a woman down there too.
God, looked like it was inside out.
Oh, we're so going to hell.
I definitely am. No, but seriously, this is just a really strange election season. I think that it's really just all a plot by the Jews at NBC to get like Saturday Night Live back on track. It's not Make America Great Again. It's
Make SNL
Saturday
Great
Night
Again.
Live Great Again. Because that's what this is, right? Like, this entire campaign season just seems like it was written by a comedian.
Dude, I am so starting that hashtag after the show, Make SNL Great Again.
Oh, I've been trying to get that done for like weeks now. Make SNL Great Again. That's what this whole election is. That's what the theme of this election should be.
No, you know,
Make SNL Great Again.
Honestly, what this election cycle reminds me of is one of those 70s key swap parties gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Oh my God. It's like a night at Michael Berry's house. But yeah, I mean, it's just so insane that we have to look. There 327 million people live in this country, 340 if you count the illegals that are allowed to vote. I mean, this is the best that we could come up with, is these two creatures. You know, way to go, America. You're doing great.
America. That's kind of been my recurring theme this entire time. Because, dude, I literally have family that will argue with me on social media because I won't vote for Trump. I'm just like,
My uncle can't understand why I won't vote for Trump. He's a great guy. He's a businessman. I said, yeah, that's why I won't vote for him. Because he's a freaking businessman and he's lying to you.
Dude,
come on, man.
See, Romney was a businessman. Trump is a freaking used car salesman. Trump tells you in his book that he's basically a used car salesman because he tells you everything in his book that everybody keeps asking me if I've read, by the way, he's been doing on the campaign for the last 15 months. Tell them a lie often enough, they're going to believe it. If somebody doesn't believe it, then browbeat them till they cave in. How many times can he rinse, lather, and repeat until people figure out that all he's been doing for the last 15 months is using his own book, which he did. He didn't even write the damn book. He's using a book with his name on it that he didn't write, and even the guy that wrote it's like, man, I kind of really wish I hadn't written that now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that dude. That dude makes the rounds on TV every now and then. The last 6 months, I saw him the other day at the bar, and he was like, "Yeah, one of my biggest regrets in life is having written Art of the Deal for him."
Can you imagine?
I'm nearly suicidal because of it now. Because we're just so screwed.
All right, folks. Go ahead.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like the thing that he says is, if you if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. Isn't that a quote from Hitler?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I don't. But I mean, the thing about it is, with the internet, you can actually attribute any quote to anybody now. That's like all of these stupid Abraham Lincoln memes that says, "Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true." Abraham Lincoln didn't even know what internet was. All right, but anyway, folks, we are already into the bottom of hour number 2. We're going to have to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. We've kind of been all over the map today, so we've talked a little bit about MMO games, and then, of course, we keep coming back to Hillary and Trump because neither one of us can figure out how the hell we got here. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, with my guest, Defend Wall Street, otherwise known as Bill O'Keefe. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, folks, and welcome back. This is America Off the Rails, bottom half of hour number 2. Still joined with my guest, Defend Wall Street, otherwise known as Bill O'Keefe. You can hang out with him on Twitter, but apparently he doesn't like that much because he usually tells people not to find him. Speaking of which, I have to say something, because on 9/11, I have to say, you managed to push some buttons. I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. The tweet where you had basically said that this is the time of year where we as New Yorkers have to listen to everyone else, remember where they were and what they were doing on 9/11, and of course you were getting some hate on it. I have to tell you, brother, that was probably one of the times I really think we should probably find you a filter every once in a while, because honestly look, at that time, I know it's different for you because you were actually there, but a lot of us actually could relate to and actually kind of felt like New Yorkers. We also kind of felt like, because we could relate to the folks in D.C. that were attacked in the Pentagon. We kind of felt the same resolve of the folks in Flight 93. And I know that you weren't there. I know that you do it on purpose, but I'm just saying, could you maybe do that?
I'm not doing it on purpose. It's legitimately something that annoys me.
Well, I know, but
what started it was really want to go down this road. What started it was I had seen a tweet from a woman who had said that 9/11 gave her post-traumatic stress disorder. And somebody on Twitter had said to her, well, where were you when it happened? Were you in New York? Because that's a normal question you would ask. Were you in New York, D.C.? Were you where Flight 93 crashed, whatever? And she was like, no, I was in Bakersfield, California at a dentist appointment. But I listened to it on the radio while I was getting my cavity fixed. And it really stuck in my head because of that. And I have PTSD now, and I have to go to a therapist. And I'm really sad. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, really? Get over yourself. Stop being a baby. Like, seriously? You know, they're like people actually like had friends and family members that died on 9/11. You're whining because you're in a dentist chair, 600 miles away. Get over yourself. That's all. That's the kind of people I'm talking about. People who are just like, just ridiculous because they want the attention. Because it's and don't tell me that there aren't people like that, because there are people that go out and buy fake Marine Corps uniforms and pretend to be Marines for no other reason other than to get free coffee at Starbucks. So, I mean, don't tell me that people don't do this with 9/11 too, because they most certainly do. You just don't notice it because we all kind of give everybody a little bit of leeway on that because it's a little different and it's a little less shitty. It feels kind of crappy to question somebody about that. But for some reason, it's like it's okay to question a guy who's obviously wearing, Army fatigues while claiming that he's a Lance Corporal in the Marines.
And has the insignia upside down. That's my favorite.
Yeah, and has the insignia upside down and says that he was in Battalion 4, which is a ladies' battalion.
Well, I mean, hey, gender is fluid now.
Yeah, it wasn't gender fluid when enduring freedom. It wasn't fluid then. At least not that fluid.
Well, I mean, come on, dude. Starbucks coffee is expensive. If you could find a way to get free coffee, no, I'm just kidding. That's actually one of the things that really kind of annoys me.
I hate those people. I hate them so much. Those people who do that, and it's so pathetic, so pathetic. And there are people that do it with everything, every tragedy, everything, because there are people who have sad, lonely, boring, pathetic lives, and they do it from 9/11 to stealing valor to pretending that, they're doctors like Joe Biden does. People want recognition.
She's not pretending. She got that out of her Cracker Jack box.
Yeah, I mean, she did, and there are a lot of people who go, well, she's an English teacher, and she's a PhD, and she's a doctorate. No, she's not a doctor, dude. She's not a medical doctor. She does it because she wants people to call her a doctor. So, there are people who just have really sad, pathetic lives, and this is how they fill the void in their life. And it's pathetic, and you shouldn't be afraid to tell them that they're pathetic. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody, there are people who do it with the Holocaust, for Christ's sake. There are people, there's a woman right now who's one of these, she's a leftist nutcase who, I forget what her name is. Her name escapes me at the moment. But she is a Jewish woman who lived in Germany during the war. And now she's part of this, Free Palestine movement. And she goes around telling people that she's a Holocaust survivor. That is, for a free Palestine, because Israel is a genocide police state. But she's not really a Holocaust survivor. She was born 2 years after the Holocaust. It's just insane. There are people like this that do this, and it's for whatever reason they do it. It doesn't matter. It's disgusting and weird, and you should not be afraid to call these people out because they do exist. They really, really, truly do, and you can tell the difference between them. There are a lot of people who are sad on 9/11, and that's fine. But you can tell who the people who just want attention. They just want somebody to tell them, it's okay, don't worry. There are people that just, they have a void in their life for whatever reason, and that's how they fill it. like I said, whether it's 9/11 or the Holocaust or pretending to be a soldier or an airman or whatever the hell it is. And there are lots of them. Maybe more than you think. And unfortunately more than we think. Maybe even more than I think. And that's all.
Oh, I know. I was just mainly busting your balls. I didn't expect this to turn into a 20-minute long discussion.
Well, I wanted to clarify it because you brought it up, so I figured I would explain it.
Well, no.
And I hate sad, weird people because they creep me out.
So wait, then why do we hang out again? Because I'm kind of sad. No, I'm just playing.
I don't know. My therapist doesn't even know. But no, so there are a lot of people like that. And it's the same reason that, like I said, it's the same reason that Jill Biden wants to be called a doctor. It's the same reason that look at Cindy Sheehan. Some people just have to feed off of something because their life is nothing. And this is how they get their jollies.
No, yeah, I mean, you're exactly...
A lot like Donald Trump.
I was actually just about to say the same thing, believe it or not. But in a way, it's not that much of a stretch for you to bring it back to Trump, because the very thing that we're talking about is the fact that people are basically becoming other people, or adding more to their lives, or telling people what they need to hear to be accepted. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has been doing for this entire campaign. And he's going to keep doing it because for some reason it's working, because I guess we've just become a bunch of sheep that can't tell the difference. And no, I'm not saying that Hillary's any better. I'm saying they're both just as bad, but for much, much different reasons. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about. Because look, neither one of them deserved to be president of the United States. We never should have gotten into a point where they were the president of the United States. But yet here we are, where we now have a choice between, I mean, if you want to look at the main fringe candidates as well as those two, which makes everybody pretty much fringe candidates as far as I'm concerned, we have Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton. None of which really have what we need to have to be POTUS. And that's just the bottom line of it. But the simple...
Jill Stein thinks we should have arrested Osama bin Laden and not murdered him.
Yeah, well.
If it were me, I would have tortured him to death. But, I suppose shooting him 3 times is okay, too.
Yeah, I have to admit, I think he died a little too easily. That's probably going to be harsh for some listeners, but it's not untrue. And I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, but at this point, we're now looking at probably the weirdest election landscape I think I've ever seen. I was actually talking to someone Jonathan Honig, through DM the other day, and I said, dude, I keep waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out and tell us America's been punked and everything gets to start over.
Huh? Yeah, Jonathan, I feel bad for him. He's the only sane guy at Fox News.
I don't know, dude. He's holding his own. I can't imagine him not getting crap on his Twitter bio, though, because if you noticed what he's done, he actually...
I block anybody who retweets Ann Coulter.
Well, no, he said unfollow. I actually was going to tell him I usually block him, but then I was like, no, because that's not entirely true. Because what I really like to do, especially if I'm in the middle of a really big exchange with somebody and they're just going off and off and off, I'll be like, okay, that's enough, you're muted. And then I don't actually mute them, and I wait until they keep tirading, and then I just start eating popcorn, because it's just kind of fun to watch. But what can I say? I'm a bit of a nut when it comes to Twitter rants. I actually kind of feed the trolls just to keep them around. I know that's not the best thing to do, but it does sometimes become entertaining.
What I do is, a lot of people don't realize it, but what I do on my phone, you'll notice that if I'm tweeting from my phone, I very rarely respond to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because on my phone I have it set so that I can only see mentions from people that I follow. So I don't see most of the stuff that comes my way when I'm on my phone, just because I'm sorry, I'm naturally aggressive with dealing with idiots, and
I hadn't noticed.
Oh yeah, I know, right? So subtle. But if I didn't do that, I would basically sit there on my phone like 24 hours a day and just be, yelling at people. So when my phone comes with me, I turn the mention settings for people who follow me only, because I don't have time for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I'm sitting at my desk, sorry, my pneumonia is acting up. When I'm sitting at my desk, 9 out of 10 times I'm playing World of Warcraft and I have TweetDeck open in the background. So I just kind of alt-tab out once in a while, and I hear the little beeping noise and stuff, and boop boop, and then I just I alt-tab out. And I go, yeah, you're an ass. And I alt-tab back into WoW and go gank some 12-year-old kid. And funny story. I had a kid. I play on a PvP server. I play on Tichondrius. BG9 represent. Tichondrius is not for you. And we're a fairly hardcore PvP server. I mean, that would be putting it lightly, but Tichondrius is the pinnacle of world PvP in World of Warcraft, and there are a lot of people who really just can't hack it, and for one reason or another. And I ganked this kid must have been 8 or 9 times, and he added me on Battle.net cross faction, and he was like, "You're such a loser! Why are you camping me?" It's against the rules to do this, right? You're not supposed to actually do that. And he's like, "Well, you accepted the invite." And I'm like, "Well, I thought you were a friend of mine. But now that I know that you're an idiot, I'm going to report you to Blizzard." Get good, scrub. But yeah, I mean, they're, and that's my point, right? I'm like this everywhere. I'm just really, really, really competitive with people, and I don't have time for it. And especially in WoW, I don't have time for it in WoW. And I can tolerate people who have stupid ideas, but I can't tolerate people who have stupid ideas that are unfounded. If you're going to say that Donald Trump is a great businessman, show me the proof of that. I mean, he's, something that people don't know, or maybe they do and they've forgotten, is that when his casino in Atlantic City went bankrupt, when it went dead, his investors lost their shirts, man. They lost 93% of their money. Can you even imagine that? I mean, they're a company, when Novell, when SCO and Novell Networks went bankrupt, or Banyan Vines. I mean, these are major tech companies, and they died in the dot-com bubble when the dot-com bubble burst. Their investors lost 12% of their investment.
Well, yeah, but
Trump is up there with Amway, for Christ's sake.
The scary thing about Trump is he's been doing the same thing throughout the campaign. Do you remember the creepy girls that sang the song? They had the whole baton twirling thing going on, the red, white, and blue dresses.
Yes, unfortunately, I do remember that.
That they were under the
stuff of nightmares.
They were under the assumption they were getting paid, and they've not yet been paid. Trump is also one of the only people that supposedly pays his advisors. Most of them haven't been paid yet either. And he's refusing to pay a lot of contractors. Not sure what just happened. I think I lost Bill. Hello?
I don't know what happened.
I'm not sure either, but you're back now. Woohoo!
That was weird.
Yeah, it was like 1 second you were there, and the next.
Yeah, the app was closed. I don't know why.
It's probably trying to force an update. Mine does that every once in a while.
Okay, yeah, no. So the girls never got paid.
No, and according to the Trump campaign, they weren't supposed to get paid, but they were under the assumption they were being paid. And he supposedly pays his advisors too, right? He hasn't really paid he hasn't really paid any of them either. There's at least
Jeffrey Lord actually works for Blood. So
I can think of a couple others that probably do too.
He works for Blood and a place to hang upside down and sleep at night. So I don't think he's in danger of not getting paid.
Probably not. Oh. All right, well, believe it or not, we're actually already starting to run out of time. We've got about 5 minutes left. While we're winding things down, why don't you go ahead and remind folks where it is they can interact with you should they choose to do so?
Whatever Jeffrey Lord is not. I just want to say that Jeffrey Lord really reminds me of Christopher Lee in those Dracula movies.
Probably.
Who are we running against? Hillary Clinton, master.
I never really thought of that. So speaking of which, and I can't think of her name right now, but one of the Trump advisors was actually quote tweeting a parody account of somebody, and I can't think of his name right now. I'm sure it was
Kellyanne Conway. She's an idiot.
Yeah, it was actually her. She was quote tweeting. I think it was a parody of an Anthony Weiner account, and she was quote tweeting him, and I'm like, that's not even the real Anthony Weiner. But it's just the craziness that is this cycle. Look, old people should not be on Twitter. When we have two presidential candidates that are both in their 70s, neither one of them should be using social media. They don't understand how it works. And even if they...
Did you know, do you know how Trump has his tweets done by his staff? They write it in Word, and then they print that out and they bring it to him by hand.
Well, yeah, and you know why? Because he's probably sitting there with a red pen going, no, this number needs to be higher. No, this number needs to be higher. No, it's 40 stories, not 28. That's like, there was, and we are almost out of time, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about this last little bit. I was reading an article about a roast that he participated in a while ago, and
I remember that.
And they were actually sending over, this is the material we're going to use, and he like crossed out the numbers, made them higher, and it was just craziness. I mean, he was trying to overinflate the stuff they were joking with him about.
The only thing
that
they weren't allowed to say was that they weren't allowed to make jokes about his penis size. They weren't allowed to make jokes about his hand size or his wealth, but they did okay jokes about him having sex with his daughter.
Ugh.
Think about that.
Thanks for sharing that last little bit. I didn't need breakfast this morning.
Yeah, already fine talked about that.
All right, folks. Well, believe it or not, that's hour 2 in the can. At this point, we're going to go ahead and break away, play a few commercials, pay some bills. When we come back, the last hour is going to be a flashback. We're going to play the WNJC episode that I first aired, my very first week over there. Recap of the things we talked about Donald Trump that I said back then that have basically come true now. And also a recap of the interview I did with John Sununu. This is America Off the Rails. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning. So I just want to take a second to say have a great day. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I want to thank my guest at Defend Wall Street, otherwise known as Bill O'Keefe, for hanging out with me for the whole 2-hour segment that we usually do here. At some point, we will actually move it to a full 3-hour session, but I'm getting my feet wet. I'm getting back to used to doing this again. Just wanted to block off the whole 3 hours because we have a few people looking at possibly trying to syndicate the show, and they want to see if I can hold my own on a longer format before they make a decision. So cross your fingers, say a few prayers, and hopefully at some point I'll be doing this and making money, and I can tell the day job to go fly a kite. It's been great having you guys listen in. We're out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget, stay tuned for the flashback for the last hour. Take care.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Calls, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause it's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
Good afternoon, Philadelphia. This is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails, and this is my maiden voyage right here on WNJC. Now, I do want to give you just a little bit about the show, but first I want to say welcome to each and every one of you listening and give you a bit of background. I am a nationally syndicated talk show host. I'm on several different platforms, and I have also been building a radio network of my own called the Spark Radio Network. You might already be familiar with some of my people. JD and Stacy actually beat me over here to WNJC by a couple of weeks, and they can be heard every Friday during Primetime Drive right here at 5 Eastern. Now, if you like what we're doing over here, whether it be me or JD or Stacy or both, make sure you check out K98 Talk. We do have a lot of great hosts over there, and most of the stuff that we get really good and going on is actually usually by the time the Conservative Commando Radio Network shuts down for the day. So you can kind of flip back and forth between the two, and it's great and awesome and fun. And I'm rambling, but that's fine. So I do want to mention just a couple of things here. Now, I did mention a moment ago for many of you, this may be the first time you've ever heard me. And right about now, you're wishing you'd probably turned off the radio. No, I'm just playing. So I want to take a moment to let you know up front, I'm not your normal talk show host. By no means do I consider myself a news guy or a reporter or any of the above. I'm a commentator. I'm an entertainer. I'll do my best to bring you the facts as I see them, but they will always have my opinion with them. I don't consider it my job to tell you what to think. It's my job to make you think. I'll always shoot straight with you, but it will be from my perspective. I do not expect you to agree with me all of the time. Some of you won't agree with me any of the time, and that's fine. I don't care how often we agree or how often we disagree. You as a listener will always be welcome here. Whether I'm bringing you the stories of the day or guests, I always treat the show like you're talking with me in my living room. I hope that you understand that means I hope you will always feel welcome here, and I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you better. Now, from a personal perspective, I will tell you, this can start as a love it or hate it type show, but I ask that you give it time. Eventually, even the people that hate the show at first come to enjoy it. All I ask is duct tape, 1 hour a week. No heads exploding during the show, please. Now, before we go to a quick break, I want to give a huge thank you to Mr. Rick Trader and the Conservative Commando Radio Network. It is an honor to be here, and I look forward to bringing you truth and facts and opinion and fun every single Thursday right here at 2 Eastern. My new home. They're not taking it away from me. It's not going to happen. All right, folks, we will be right back here in just a couple minutes. We do need to take our first official break and pay some bills. Do not go away.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause it's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. And that intro that you just heard and the bumpers that you hear played throughout the show are actually put together by a group called the Dirty Uncles. You can find their SoundCloud page and go search them out. They have several different songs that are available. That one is available for purchase. It happens to be one of my favorites that they've done. They do have a really unique style. But I did get their permission to have that put together as my intro with some outtakes that they had already put in there and then some additional of my own for promos and bumpers and everything else. But if you like it, make sure you go check out the whole thing because honestly, I didn't do it justice. There's only so much you can do in 30 to 45 seconds. It really is a pretty good song. But anyway, now that we're back from the break and we've got the formal introductions out of the way, let me give you a second to get to know a little bit about me. I do consider myself a conservative. I pretty much probably always have. Now, this is going to be a bit of an unusual show because, like I said, I want to give you guys a little bit of a chance to get to know me, and then we'll start talking topics of the day. Now, just to give you a little bit more background, I've always considered myself conservative, like I said a moment ago. Now, that doesn't mean that I always believe that conservatism is the only answer. And a lot of folks right now are looking at me like I've just sprouted 2 heads. Look, I've always been a conservative, but I'm also more of a middle-of-the-road kind of guy. Let's just be really honest for a second. And again, listening for the first time, you're not going to want to hear this, but let's be really honest with each other. If we would set aside those 7 or 8 hot-button issues that drive the electorate crazy, and you know which ones I'm talking about, if we could set those things aside, then we would realize we have a lot more in common with each other than we do these idiots in D.C. So one of the things that I have always worked on trying to do from the day that I started this platform, and as it continues to grow, I've continued to do the same thing, and that is to tell people it's time to get involved. Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't care if you disagree with me, agree with me, if you think I'm Satan incarnate. All I want for people to do is get off of the couch, put down the remote, and try to get something done. We as a nation have abdicated our responsibilities. I firmly believe this. We as an electorate have let our people down, our children down, our grandchildren down, and that's why I've started all of this. Now, from your perspective, it doesn't seem like much, but I will tell you I spend probably about 40 hours a week on top of my day job, doing everything that I do to keep everything that I am involved in running, aside from not only this show but several others. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm saying that because that's how important all of this is to me. And that's why I'm so thankful for platforms like the Conservative Commando Radio Network, where I can be a part of helping to get the message out that I believe this country needs to hear. And I think if we do not do something soon, it is going to be too late. And before anybody starts breaking out their ammunition, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I do believe that the ultimate reason the Second Amendment exists is because when our government gets to the point where it's too tyrannical, we have the right and the responsibility to overthrow it. But before anybody starts again unlocking their gun safes, that's not what I'm telling you we need to do today. I think there is still time, there is still hope, but I'm just trying to give you a chance to get to know where I'm coming from. Because, again, I'm not your normal talk show host. I'm going to say things that are going to make you crazy. I'm going to say things that are going to make you think. And I'm going to say things that are going to just make you want to turn off the radio. But I'm still going to say them. Because that's my job. I didn't start this to get rich. I started this to make a difference. That's been my goal all along. It will continue to be my goal. Because I have children. I want to leave them a better country than I found. Because I don't know what happened to the last generation, and I'm not trying to down anybody, but they fell asleep at the switch, and we've got to be the ones to fix it. We're almost out of time to do it. That's what scares me. And if you look at the Democratic primary right now and the Republican primary right now, I think we're in a lot worse shape than anybody wants to admit, but I'll get to that in a moment. Again, just so you understand, this is me. I'm not an ideologue. I'm not a crazy guy. I'm a guy who's trying to make everybody realize that, this country is going to Hades faster than we realize. And the problem is, and again, this is something nobody wants to hear, each party wants the same thing. If you ever just got up in the morning and realized that it doesn't really matter anymore whether you're Republican or Democrat, because they all want the same thing. And notice I didn't say anything about conservative, because I consider myself a Republican in my home state because that still means conservative here. For those of you who don't know, I broadcast every day from Oklahoma. I am familiar with Philadelphia and Delaware and Jersey because I actually spent a couple of my teenage years over that way. So I have been to places like Pat's and Geno's and went to watch the Phillies games and the Redskins games. I have to say, Philly's probably my number 3 team. Just to give you a little more background, since I've suddenly changed gears to football. Top 3 teams in order happen to be where I've lived in that order, or closest equivalent there too. I was born in Oklahoma, spent most of my childhood here, so Dallas Cowboys were always my team of choice. It's always usually either Cowboys or Kansas City Chiefs, and I never really found the Chiefs entertaining. Then when I was a teenager, we moved to Seattle first. So I became a fan of the Seahawks by default because it was awesome because I've lived in Oklahoma where we never had our own football team. And yes, unfortunately, when I lived there, they sucked. But I still went. It was kind of like when you went to go watch the Mariners play baseball back then. You didn't really go to watch the Mariners. You went to watch whoever was playing against the Mariners kick their butt. All right, but anyway, so then we moved over to Delaware where I spent most of my freshman year. And I kind of became a fan of the Eagles, because, over there it's pretty much Pat's Eagles, as they like to call them, or the Redskins, and I really never was much of a fan of the Redskins. So, those are my 3 teams in particular order based on geographics and time frame. Now, full disclosure, I like football, I watch football, but honestly, my wife is the football nut of the family. Like, Sunday night, it's on. Monday night, it's on. Thursday night, it's on. I'm more of a college football kind of guy. And, my team there's the Sooners. I know, some of you right now are like, oh my god, he's another Big 12 guy. Who the heck let this guy on an East Coast station? Everybody should know that it's SEC over here or bust. Yeah, well, sorry. I'm a Big 12 guy, so that may be another reason for some of you to turn off the radio. But again, this is full disclosure time. This is time for you to get to know a little bit about me, a little bit about what makes me tick, a little bit about why I started this, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. Like the debates lately, which, oh my god, we have so much to talk about there, and probably will be for the next few weeks. So that's another reason why we're spending a few minutes with just you getting to know a little bit about me. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm conservative, but I'm also willing to compromise to a point. A lot of us in my circles joke about being what are called conservatarian or libservative, because we're kind of a mixture. I mean, because I believe in old school family values. I'm not going to hold anybody to those same standards, but that's what I believe personally. And I get into arguments about that all day, every day, because I have people that tell me that I'm not conservative enough because I don't want to hold everybody to my same belief standards. And I'm sorry, my scriptures tell me that I'm not supposed to do that. There's only one group that I am supposed to have any say-so over, and those are fellow Christians. Anybody else, I'm not supposed to hold them to my standard. I'm supposed to talk to them. I'm supposed to love them, but I'm not supposed to say, oh my God, you're going to hell because you like girls and you're a girl. That's not how that's supposed to work. You know, not to sound like the Facebook lady, but that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I mean, it really is pretty much that simple. And that's just me. I'm not going to hold everybody to my same standards, but I am going to try to make you think. And I'm not going to hate you because you disagree with me. I mean, just to give you a little bit more backstory, my whole network actually started with a show that eventually became named Finding Common Ground. And we considered ourselves the low-rent version of Hannity and Combs on the radio, because I had myself, the conservative, and another liberal host that we actually did the show together for quite some time. Since then, the original liberal host schedule has changed, so now I have a much younger liberal host named Bryce Robbins, and the original host was Dave Brown. So I'm not one of these guys that's going to tell you that I don't have conversations with liberals, that I can't stand liberals, because look, I have lots of friends that are liberals. But the difference is I don't have very many friends that are crazy, foaming at the mouth socialist liberals. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. I'm just saying. Okay, so I know we said we weren't going to get into this yet, but since I've already slid the topic towards Bernie Sanders, did anybody else watch that debate? Or was it just me? I mean, I know it, but, you know, they tried to pump it up like it was the best debate ever for the Democrats, blah, blah, blah. It was 3.5 hours of, oh my God, what am I watching? But I watched it because I had to, because I have fans that wanted to listen to the show and hear me talk about the debate afterwards. And actually, we did a bit of a pre-debate show and then a post-debate show, and then a couple of folks actually, for after the Democratic one, they actually moved their whole schedule over so they could do a post-debate wrap-up show. And then we were notified about halfway through the day that what was supposed to be a 2-hour Republican debate suddenly became 3 hours and 30 minutes. And then they wound up doing the same thing on the Democratic debate. So the scariest things for me about the Democratic debate, let's just go ahead and start there. The scariest things for me about that debate, first of all, hearing Hillary say basically these words. I'm here in the middle getting it from both sides. I almost threw up in my mouth. I'm not even going to lie. The other scariest thing for me about that debate was basically closing my eyes anytime Bernie Sanders opened his mouth and hearing Jem from Taxi. Sorry, that's who he reminded me of. It was like Jem from Taxi, or if you want to go even a step further, Doc Brown in his manic phases. I kept waiting for him to yell out, Great Scott! Great Scott! It's time for a revolution! I mean, that's all he said over and over again. Revolution, 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 revolution. Dude, that was a TV show that got canceled a long time ago, and it got canceled for a reason. Sit back down and take another puff of your oxygen. Obviously, something is wrong with your brain cells. I mean, look. Obviously, you wouldn't be listening to this radio station if you were a socialist. So can we just say that I don't think that's going to work? I don't think it's a good plan. I don't think it's a good idea. And I think Bernie Sanders needs to sit down and shut up. Plain and simple. I mean, I guess the surprise for me out of that entire debate was, you know, one, Hillary got no poll bump at all. Oh, that sounded terrible. I'm so sorry. But anyway, Hillary got no bump in the polls from that at all. So, basically, she's now flatlining. So, in my estimation, there's really nowhere for her to go but up. And that's why I think Biden is slowly starting to make noise about possibly getting involved in the election. Because I don't think he feels like they have any other choice or any other options but for him to get involved in the election. And that's got to be a scary thought process for the Clintons, because to me, that means that they understand that there's a really good shot that the FBI might not ever stop gunning for her. Why else would Biden all of a sudden out of the middle of nowhere start making this noise about possibly running for the presidential election as the Democratic hopeful when he's been out of it this entire time? Was it strategic? Does he know something that we don't know? Because, with this being Crazy Uncle Joe, somehow I find that a little hard to believe. But the truth of the matter is, I really don't have an answer for you. What I do know is for the party that when you look at their numbers, they're supposed to be the most diverse party between the two. Because we only have two parties in this country, really, if you stop and think about it. The independents just kind of throw themselves in wherever they want to go, and then you've got the libertarians, and don't even get me started on those guys, because I know I have libertarian leanings, but the thing with libertarians that eventually drives me crazy is they all eventually just say, you know what, screw it, we're going to go full anarchy. And maybe I don't understand what the concept of anarchy is, but is anybody else confused by that? Because when I think anarchy, I'm thinking Mad Max and feudalism and despots. And I'm sorry, but based on what I know from human behavior and human nature, I think that's exactly what would happen if we ever actually did officially try to do any type of an anarchist system. I think it works the exact opposite of the socialist system, but with the same results. Eventually it will crumble. There has to be some form of government. Whether we want to admit it or not, people want to be led. And that doesn't mean there aren't people that are born to be leaders, and that doesn't mean that there aren't people that will try to exploit the fact that they know people want to be led, but the simple fact of the matter is people need to have leaders. There are such a things as sheep, and there are such a thing as sheepdogs, and that's not an insult to either one of them. It's just a simple fact. There is such a thing as a sheep and a sheepdog. The difference between a sheep and a sheepdog is the sheep just kind of goes along to get along, and the sheepdog is keeping an eye on all of the sheep and trying to keep the wolves out. So if you really stop and think about it for a second, there are three types of people in the world. There are sheep, there are sheepdogs, and there are wolves. Now, I don't know which one a lot of our politicians are currently, but I think they're falling more into the wolf category. And that's part of what has me concerned about the future of our country, because we are giving up more and more control to these nozzles in D.C., and we're doing it willingly. Because we're too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're too busy worried about who's got the best car, and the biggest house, and the nicest TV, and the most clothes in their closet. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. There are so many other things that are so much more important than how much stuff you have when you die. But that's what this whole country is founded on anymore. Because somebody had this bright, great, wonderful idea that we needed to be the economic center of the world. That's great. Lovely idea. Except it only works for a short time. Look at what happens to every civilization that tries to become the economic center of the world. Eventually they collapse under their own weight. Because they get decadent and spoiled and lazy. And I'm sorry, I know that doesn't apply to a lot of you listening right now, but the simple fact of the matter is there is a segment of our population that is lazy. That is why Bernie Sanders is leading in the polls. Does it scare anybody else that he's filling up football stadiums at his rallies? Does it scare anybody else that he has people screaming "Feel the Burn" and buying t-shirts? My co-host on Finding Common Ground just bought a t-shirt and a bumper sticker. And granted, he's a kid. I get it. He doesn't understand how the world works yet. But there are plenty of adults that are voting for this guy because they want to vote for this guy. Now let this sink in for a second, because bringing this full circle, we haven't talked about the Republican debate yet, but let me tell you what I think is probably going to happen overall. What I think is going to happen is if we don't figure out a way to combat Trump without attacking Trump, eventually he's going to get the nomination. What scares me is if Hillary stays in and Biden does run, then that's going to split the vote. So let me give you my dark horse, holy crap, can't believe I'm actually about to say this out loud prediction for the election, and please, please, please let me be wrong. I have a feeling we are about to see the oligarchy candidate, because that's basically what Trump is. Nobody wants to admit it because he's not conservative. He's a big business guy, and he's a business control guy, and he's worked the system. So we are seriously a few months away from seeing the oligarchist versus the democratic socialist for an election cycle. You know, not to steal another random quote, but, you know, in the words of Sweet Georgia Brown, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm just saying, that's not what this country was founded on. You know, it's not how much stuff can you give me or how much of the tax code can I warp to benefit my friends that are in big business. Because let me tell you something about Donald Trump, and this is something nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to admit, and they all just assume that I'm the crazy one. Hey, you know what? That's fine. If you want to think I'm crazy, that's great. But let me tell you what I know in my heart about Donald Trump. If you honestly think he's going to do one thing to change the tax code, you're not paying attention. He just admitted a few weeks ago in front of millions of Americans that he's figured out how to work both the bankruptcy system and the tax code to make sure that he makes phenomenal amounts of money. Now, I know that all of you that are supporters of his are like, but Rick, that means he could get the country making phenomenal amounts of money. Do we really want this country right now, in the state that it's in, to have phenomenal amounts of money? We need to make some fundamental changes, and I don't mean Obama style, before we wind up giving this country, again, phenomenal amounts of money. I'm not saying that I don't want everyone here to succeed. What I am saying is there are so many things that we could do to fix the problems in this country that don't involve idiots like Donald Trump and crazy people like Bernie Sanders. I mean, come on. Are you seriously telling me that if we took the numbers today with the fact that Hillary's starting to flatline and the direction that things are going for Bernie and the crowds that he's bringing in, and unlike Trump, we know he doesn't have the money to pay the crowds, so they've got to be coming in from somewhere, and it's because they've got their hand out for more free stuff, which is all great, well, fine, awesome, good, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But the simple fact of the matter is, we're in trouble, because we are seriously about to have to probably pull the lever for either a socialist or a crony capitalist. Because, I mean, it's like the start of a bad joke. A socialist and a crony capitalist walk into a bar. What happens? Nobody knows, because it's never happened before at the same time. I mean, I don't understand this country anymore. Can I just say that? Just to be honest, I don't understand this country anymore. All right, so I think I've rambled about enough. At this point, we're about to take a break. When we come back, what you're about to hear is an interview that I recently did with Governor John Sununu. You may remember that name from the first Bush administration. He actually wrote a book about President Bush 41 entitled The Quiet Man. He actually sat down with me for a half an hour recently and discussed the book in depth and the upcoming election cycle and some of his concerns about the country and the direction that we're headed in. So I do hope you stay tuned. I know I spent a lot of time talking about myself on this particular episode. I promise that doesn't happen that often. I'm not one of those big head kind of guys who only likes to talk about himself. Honestly, once you get to know me, you'll realize I really don't like to talk about myself at all. But at this point, we are going to go ahead and take another break at what is now the bottom of the hour. Where does the time go? This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Thanks for everybody tuning in right here with me on my maiden voyage on WNJC 1360 out of Philadelphia, baby. We will be right back with John Sununu, author of The Quiet Man, the biography about President Bush 41. Don't go away.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect, or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Calls, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect for fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
Off the Rails, I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and right now I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. John Sununu, former Chief of Staff for the George Herbert Walker Bush administration, Bush 41, also former governor and the author of The Quiet Man. Wanted to make sure I got the introduction down for you this time now that I'm not trying to do 14 things at once. Good afternoon, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm fine.
It is an honor to have you here, sir. So like I told you during the break, I think I want to spend at least as much of this segment as I can giving you a chance to talk about what inspired you to write the book, some of your favorite moments from the book, just give us a general overview. I don't want you to give away too much because we want folks to go buy it. Speaking of which, the link to the book will be in the podcast episode that publishes here later as well. For anybody
thank you very much. Well, I wrote The Quiet Man, which is about the presidency of the first President Bush. to put between the two covers of a book what I thought were his extremely significant accomplishments, many of which people don't really recognize how significant those achievements were, and to put into one place, if you will, a record of the facts of what happened almost a quarter of a century ago that made a huge difference in terms of stabilizing the world at that time and improving things in America as well as around the world. And I wanted to give this president the credit he deserves, get this president the credit he deserves, because he frankly was much too modest a man to brag about it for himself. And I thought after 25 years, it was time that somebody did some bragging for him.
All right, so, yeah, sorry about that. I had a technical issue on our side. Got that cleared up. Do apologize. Yeah, so basically what you're saying is the book, basically you wanted, just to summarize, what you wanted to do was give people the perspective of Bush 41, the first President Bush, that you had, because
right.
I agree with you. I mean, I have to admit, I'm younger. I grew up in the Reagan era. I was in second grade. I watched Reagan get shot on TV in second grade. It's actually one of the most embedded memories that I have. But I was just starting to understand what politics was, really, as a fledgling adult during the Bush administration. And I think, in some ways, he's gotten a pretty bad rap. To be honest, and I kind of get the impression from the book. I have to admit I have not had a chance to read it yet, but I do plan on it. I kind of get the impression just from the few interviews that I've heard and the little bit that you just said there, that what you're trying to do is basically give folks the perspective of the man that you actually knew instead of how he was portrayed.
Right. Look, everyone recognizes that George Bush came into office after Ronald Reagan sort of set the table. Reagan had rebuilt America's defense capacity. The Soviet Union saw that they couldn't keep up, and there were indications that Gorbachev recognized this and wanted to somehow perhaps bring the Soviet Union into better interactions with the rest of the world. And Bush saw this and used, frankly, the leverage that comes with peace through strength, with the strength that Reagan had put in place. Reagan had built this up, and Bush used this to create the results that were available with the great diplomacy that Bush was able to bring to the game. For example, he first of all had to unify our NATO partners, Margaret Thatcher, Helmut Kohl, Francois Mitterrand. Each one had a slightly different agenda, and you can't deal with the Soviet Union with a divided agenda amongst the Allies. And Bush worked hard on each one of them individually to create a common agenda, and they agreed that they would make this a significant initiative of suggesting a major reduction of U.S. forces in Europe, troops and armor, if the Soviet Union would make an equivalent reduction. And that offer was put on the table, and Gorbachev essentially accepted it and began withdrawing the troops that were occupying the countries in Eastern Europe, the Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania. And in essence, George made the wager, and Gorbachev accepted the opportunity to do that, and it opened the process up for free elections there. And as we know, what eventually happened, we ended up with what George Bush called a Europe whole and free. The Czechs were freed, the Poles were freed, they had elections, they had democratically elected governments. Even in East Europe, Eastern Germany, which was sort of seen as the place that the Soviets would give up last, Gorbachev allowed the relaxation which led to the collapse of the Berlin Wall. And on that amazing day, we were in the Oval Office. The press, the news came through the press. We held a small news conference. And I think one of the amazing demonstrations of presidential discipline is that George Bush knew that if he overgloated, if he overcrowed about the fact that the Berlin Wall had come down, that the hardliners in the Soviet Union could take advantage of this and perhaps either get rid of Gorbachev entirely or tie his hands from doing any more. And Bush had the discipline to certainly express great satisfaction at the freeing of Eastern Europe, the final symbol coming down, but he did it in such a way that he didn't embarrass Gorbachev. Other folks also know about the other great foreign policy achievement of George Bush. When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, Bush made a very simple statement: this aggression shall not stand. And he said that if Saddam Hussein did not leave Kuwait, we would use force and get him out. And the art form, the artistry of the presidency that Bush demonstrated was putting together a coalition that included not only Arab nations going to battle against another Arab nation, but it included the former foe of the at the superpower level. The Soviet Union themselves became part of that coalition. And in a very patient way, the president built up our resources, and then in about 5 days of combat, expelled Saddam from Kuwait. And then Bush did something very controversial. He chose not to follow Saddam into Baghdad. And at the time he was criticized, but now with hindsight, I think everybody recognizes that it was an extremely smart move not to do that. Otherwise, he would have been caught in the quicksand of an occupation. And that's the last thing in the world that the world needed at that time. Those are the two most important foreign policy achievements the president's recognized for. What I try to do in the book is to also point out that he was a great domestic policy president, and that's something most people don't understand. George Bush passed more legislation, more conservative, free market-oriented, individual liberty-oriented legislation than any president since, except for Lyndon Johnson and Franklin Roosevelt. And the Bush legislation was founded on free market principles and founded on individual freedom and liberty. It included the very much criticized Budget Pact of 1990, the 5-year pact in which the Democrats, Tom Foley was the Speaker, he controlled the House 260 to 165. George Mitchell was the head of the Democrats in the Senate. They controlled the Senate 55 to 45. They were determined not to let the president have a multi-year budget without some taxes. And Bush looked around and saw the economy faltering. The savings and loan crisis had really created havoc in the real estate side of our economy, and the economy was truly slowing down and unemployment was growing. He had just sent our young men and women to the Middle East. This was in August, September, October of 1990. He had just sent them to get ready to take on Saddam Hussein in Kuwait. And the last thing he could tolerate would be a sequester of the defense funds while those folks were needing the resources to do what had to be done to get Saddam out of Kuwait, to protect themselves. And so the president had to accept some taxes in the package. The package he negotiated was one that included an increase in the gas tax, a gas tax that had not been indexed for inflation in almost a decade. And what he got in return for it was extremely important. He got 3.5 times as the size of the tax increase. He got 3 in spending cuts. He got a new set of budgeting rules which put a cap on the growth of spending. It also required that any new programs have their own funding process so that you couldn't just add deficit spending to the package. And what happened after that budget was passed is the economy began growing. We had the great growth years of the early and mid-1990s, and we began to generate surpluses for the first time in decades. And the surpluses that Bill Clinton loves to take credit for are really the result of George Bush taking the political penalty of accepting a piece of legislation that had some taxes in it, but one which was extremely important to creating a dynamic economy and creating surpluses and growth and jobs. On top of that, he passed the Clean Air Bill based on free market principles and flexibility instead of command and control. He vetoed a civil rights bill that was a quota bill and got it rewritten so that it was truly a fair civil rights bill. He proposed and got the Americans with Disabilities Act. He got legislation which deregulated the energy industry, and we're really benefiting from those things. He restructured the farm programs so that a great chunk of the old subsidy programs were actually converted into incentives for exports. And over a short period of time, we became the biggest exporting nation in agriculture in the world. And that was a huge contribution to the economy. He passed a crime bill that began to provide the resources to the cities to deal with what at that time had been a growing crime problem. He passed legislation and an executive order on immigration, which gave a focus on immigration to people coming into the country with special talents, and converted some of the allocations of immigration slots to people coming in to complete families, so that the immigration program became an efficient program. There are countless other examples of his commitment to good policy, including getting the governors, the 50 governors together, only the third time in history that a president has called a convocation of all the governors, and they focused on trying to recognize how important K through 12 education was, and each one of them went back with a commitment to focus their state resources on K through 12 education. So the point is this was the president that, although he's known for his foreign policy, really had a huge level of success in conservative principles on the domestic side as well.
All right, folks, we're on with former Governor John Sununu, author of The Quiet Man, and he's been basically filling us in on his perspectives when it comes to Bush 41. Now, we are getting to the point where we're about to have to start winding down the show, but before you have to go, I do have some questions, because you brought up some interesting things that are honestly kind of the flip side parallels of some things that are going on today. You mentioned the whole the deal with Russia and the Berlin and the wall coming down and everything else, and how Bush could have basically taken his victory lap and he could have pounded his chest and said, I did this, but he didn't do that because he knew that it might have adverse consequences. Fast forward to today, and we have a president who's basically taking his victory lap in any way that he can, and then touting down anybody who tries to say, I don't think this is a good idea. It just seems to me
you've touched on a very important point on what's happening today. This agreement with Iran, if the president had stuck to his own criteria that he laid out a few years ago as to what would define a good deal, he might be able to get some support for this. But this is a bad deal, and the Iranians knew that this president was desperate to get his name on an agreement, and they played him for a fool. And for him to be bragging about this deal is really ludicrous. It reminds me, with him, kind of flaunting this deal and saying that it was either this deal or war, it reminds me of Neville Chamberlain coming back and saying, peace is at hand. I think they were both equally naive as to the effect of that. But as you point out, this president wanted to beat on his chest and get some credit.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it comes across. And I mean, it astounds me that someone that could be as intelligent as he has to be could be this naive. I mean, because he's not a stupid person. He's not common sense. I don't think he has much more than a modicum of that, but he's not stupid. And I don't understand how it is that nobody's calling him on the fact that he basically just admitted that he lied all the way through the 2012 run-up, because he said they were nowhere near the capabilities that they have right now. He said that over and over and over again, that their capability for nuclear arms was not our concern.
He misled America on everything. He's misled America on Obamacare. He's misled America on this issue, as you pointed out here. He's misled America on frankly, every major issue he talks about. It's the hallmark of this administration.
So I guess as someone who's actually watched and been a part of the political system and kind of over the years still kind of from the ear of it kind of kept your ear to the ground, or the feel of it kind of kept your ear to the ground, so to speak. What do you think we can do at this point? Because I've kind of gotten the impression now where the majority of the American people just honestly don't care anymore. As long as they've got a TV to watch and they've got food in front of them, those are really the two things that seem to concern them most, and that worries me.
Well, we are at a tipping point in terms of electorate. I do think the key to solving any sort of problems is presidential leadership. I know people talk about gridlock, but there is no solution to gridlock without presidential leadership. Congress cannot organize itself. It needs to be led. The opposition needs to be led, and the party of the president needs to be led. And I think one of the things I try to point out in my book is that Bush achieved all that great, fairly conservative legislation with a Congress that was completely in the hands of the Democrats. So it can be done with a president who knows how to lead and is willing to work on a daily basis to get those results. When we were trying to negotiate a budget agreement, Dan Rostenkowski, who was the Democratic chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, we had him down for about 24 one-on-ones with the president to break log jams on issues. The president has to spend political capital. If we can elect a conservative president who knows how to deal with the legislature, who has understood how to make executive decisions, who is willing to take the political fire for making hard decisions in the best interest of the country, I'm not saying we can reverse everything horrible that's been done in the last 6.5 years in one fell swoop, but given 4 or 8 years of a conservative president, we can get this back to where we were.
And I do completely agree. I think at this point we're going to have to get somebody conservative in the White House. The problem is, anytime we vote for anybody who tells us they're conservative, they get where we put them, and then they wind up doing much the same thing as the folks that came before them, which is becoming my concern at this point.
Let's be fair. Our presidents, our Republican presidents, have produced very conservative results while they were there. They sometimes have had to deal with difficult circumstances. And after 9/11, I recognized that the second Bush, George W. Bush, had to increase the budget dramatically in order to rebuild our national security structures and so on. But for the most part, I think our Republican presidents in the last 50 years have been extremely conservative, considering what they could and couldn't do with the Congresses they had to deal with. Look, any one of our candidates that are running now will be 100 times better than what's in the White House now.
No, I completely agree, and I think you might have misunderstood. I meant as a whole. It seems like when we finally get the pendulum to where we think it's going to start swinging conservative for the entire group of the legislature and everybody else, it seems that they get in there and then things kind of go the same way as before. But you do bring up one last question I kind of want to get to before we do really have to call it, because we've got another show coming on right behind us here in just a couple minutes. You mentioned that any of the folks that are running right now would be better than who we have in the office currently, and I do wholeheartedly agree with that. Well, except for maybe Krispy Kreme. I'm not sure I could pull the lever for him. But anyway, so do you have a particular front runner of your own at the moment?
I don't, but I do lean towards governors and former governors. I really think we need somebody who's herded the cats of a legislature in the past, who's made executive decisions without being able to hide in the multitudes of a legislature. And so I do think at this time we need somebody that has come out of a state house, out of the governor's office. But there are other candidates as well that if they get the nomination, I'll certainly support. But if you're asking my preferences, it is in most of the governors we have running. I do think that the system and the process will sort things out, and I think we're going to end up with a very good nominee, as long as we all remember that with so many candidates, most of us will not get our first choice. You know, we're all divided amongst so many candidates. that most of us are not going to get our first choice, and we have to recognize that's going to happen, and we've got to pull together after there is a nominee.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that was our biggest failing in 2012 is we had too many people that did not want the final pick to be Romney. I voted for him.
Right.
I honestly was a little disappointed with his stances during the debates because I thought there were a couple of very big points that he caught the administration in falsehoods, and his group did not pursue them. And actually, when I reached out to contact his group to find out why they weren't pursuing them, I was basically told in no uncertain terms that they had chosen to take a higher stance when it comes to the debates. And it doesn't make any sense to me because he had him dead to rights twice and he didn't use it. So I don't know if he ever decides to run again, which at this point I don't think he will. I don't think I could support him again, but at this point I pretty much agree with you. We have to get somebody that's conservative in there, and at this point I guess it really doesn't matter who it is, because if we get another Democrat in there, especially the ones we have to choose from now, we're just I don't think there's enough time to save anything anymore. But at this point, we are about out of time.
If that happens, we'll all be looking at land
somewhere. But yeah. So anyway, we are actually about out of time. I just want to take a moment again to say thank you very much for appearing with us this evening, sir. It has been my honor. Again, as a reminder, this show will be going out all over the place once it concludes, so there will be a lot more folks that will hear it in the future that weren't even listening to it tonight. And from what I can see here, we've had a pretty big turnout in the chat room, so I know we've got a pretty big live turnout as well, because the numbers are usually pretty different between the number of folks that we have in the chat and the number of folks listening live. So I do want to thank you again for coming on with us this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right,
Thanks
and
for having me.
Just as a reminder,
we'll do it again sometime.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And anytime you want to come back on, I now officially consider you a friend of the show, so you have a sitting invitation whenever you want. All right.
Great.
So
thank you. Keep up the good work.
One last thing before you go. Remind everybody again the name of the book and where they can find it.
The name of the book is The Quiet Man, The Indispensable Presidency of George H.W. Bush, and you can get it at your local bookstore or Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any way you like ordering books. Everybody's got it.
All right, folks. Well, it's been a pleasure having John Sununu on the show with us tonight. We're going to have to cut things out of here. We've got Red Nation Rising coming up here in just 3 minutes, so I have got to make room for them to come on. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. And again, if you missed it live, don't forget we've got podcasts going out everywhere. You guys take care. We will be back with you tomorrow. Actually, rerun tomorrow, back live Monday.
Thank you.
Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of a short story through to line edits of a full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writings into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.